Okay. G'day, Paul. How you going?
Good, thanks, Pato. Yourself?
Yeah, really good, man. Really good. Thanks for coming on.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me on. I feel very privileged to be able to have a chat to you, and I know some of the people you've interviewed before have done some pretty cool things. So I'm looking forward to sharing. And yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, no worries. Well, Wild Dog's only 2 weeks away, so we're gonna have a lot to talk about because you've had a big year with your backyard ultra stuff. How long have you been running for?
Yeah, good question, Pato. Probably throughout your whole life, I've been running, but never really saw it as like the number one thing I do from a fitness perspective. Growing up in country Victoria, played all those sports, so football, cricket, tennis, and did a bit of running and that in between. As that first experience doing an event would have been Run for the Kids. So good friend of ours had a son that spent a lot of time in the Royal Children's Hospital. So that was my first, I suppose, take into the running world. And ever since then, I've been on and off running, done a couple of marathons. And then post footy is probably when I got stuck into it properly.
Yeah, well, I can see that you've been running ultras for about 2 or 3 years. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, that would sound about right. So 2019, I was coaching local footy in the twos and still playing a bit. And that's when I decided that footy's probably no longer for me for body wise, but I still needed that challenge to do something different. And so I got into some running, had some big plans in 2020. Actually come up with a plan to run 10 marathons across the 8 states and territories of Australia and North and South Island and New Zealand. So set that up, called it 10-10, got the first two in, and then our friend COVID struck, and that changed things from a practical sense. Still did 10 big runs though that year in 2020. So that's probably maybe when I got the bug. Did a couple of fundraisers as well, and Matty Veenstra from GSR gave me an entry into that up there in the hills from Harriettville, and yeah, got to go experience the high country, and that's when I got the bug, I think.
Yeah, I saw that you ran that, and that's like renowned as one of the hardest races in Australia, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So in 2021 I ran that the first time, and they had some extreme weather leading up to the event, so they actually changed the course, and it's normally an out and back to what they call the Viking, starting there in Harriettville, but they turned it into a 6 loop course, and it was going up the northwest spur, and they call it the vertical kilometre. So effectively in 4Ks you go up a K, so it's fairly challenging. And to do that supposedly 6 times, I got through it 4 times, so about 100 Ks in, and got taken off the course. Like a fair few of us, it was snowing up the top. We got a bit of hypothermia, I would imagine, is what we're getting told by the medics. So I went back the next year and gave it a crack, and got it done. It was 45 hours though out in course, and the last 3 finished, and that was pretty epic too.
Yeah, unreal. So 2024, I think it would be fair to say, is the year of the backyard ultra for you. Would you say?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I first probably come across the backyard ultra when Tom Dade actually ran in 2021 in GCR, and when I was finishing my 4th loop, he was finishing the race,
Yeah.
and I've gone, and he was just phenomenal. And I looked into him a bit and seen that he'd done a couple of backyard ultras, so started following the backyard ultra scene, but not doing them myself. And then had plans to do some in 2023, though. Had some dramas with a stray discus that put my 2023 out of plan. So 2024, I'm making up for a bit of lost time here, and got stuck into done 3 in the space of about 4 months.
Yeah. So what, you got hit by a discus?
Yeah, so I was helping out at Little Ass in January 2023, and me and another guy were doing the measuring, and a bloke's throwing it back, and I've gone to catch it like we had been all day, slipped through my hands and hit the inside of my foot, and I thought I just had a sore ankle. Kept running, walking, did an event the next week, and over time, probably over about a month, it just didn't get better. So thought I better go get an X-ray. It wasn't broken. Get an MRI. found out there's a few dramas, including a crushed tendon on the inside of my left foot. So moon boot for best on 3 months, some blood injections and slow rehab to get back into it. And what's learned from it. So at the time, I didn't think it was a great thing to happen, but I look back on it and it was actually as a very good learning experience, not the actual experience of it, but coming back from rehab and understanding what's really important to you and getting back out running and doing the right thing, taking care of yourself and bits and pieces. So yeah, 2023 wasn't what I had planned.
Yeah. So MVP this year. That was your first backyard ultra then, right?
Spot on. Yep, that was the first one, and you were there too, Pato, and there's some other cool cats that I got to meet there, and I think from just going to an event, I didn't know what to expect because I'd never even been to one before, and exceeded my expectations on many fronts. Just the camaraderie on course, the coolness of the crews and hanging out between laps and chatting, and the different types of people that were coming to do it, like young kids through to those that a lot older than you and I. We're all equal out there, and I loved it. I really loved it, and I thought it was important I go do one, given we're hosting Wild Dog ourselves, and that had been in the pipelines for about 12 months before that as well. Yeah. And I ticked the boxes and go, yeah, this is great. I'm bloody stoked that we're doing this.
Yeah. And at MVP, how did things? I remember watching you, and I remember I was impressed because I knew it was your first one. It was really warm, and you were there without crew as well. And I think you made it to, was it 18 or 19?
Yeah, I got to 20. And got to 20. And this one I did have crew. So yeah, I had a great mate of mine, Stumpy, come along and crew. And then also family came towards the lunchtime on the Saturday. And a local that I'd met at GCR, Mark Gordon, turned up as well. I hadn't seen him since GCR, and he was giving me some icy poles and bits and pieces. And I was a bit fatigued, and it took me a while to even twig who he was. Nice. And then I've gone, shit, buddy Mark. And then I went back to his house, had a snooze and that. And yeah, I was that just all those little things was bloody awesome. But yeah, got 20 yards in. Did want to do 24 was the plan, and then this decided that 20 was enough. Favorite number was 20, and pulled the pin. So yeah, I quit in the chair, as they say in the backyard ultra world, and going, yeah, could have I gone further? I didn't, so I say no, I couldn't, because I made the choice to quit.
Yeah, sure. And like, I mean, I know you would have heard that like backyard ultras, like they're really hard, but they're easy till they're not, type of thing. So was your first backyard ultra, was it harder than you expected or about the same?
It was different. I suppose different for different reasons. Like there was lots of ebbs and flows. So starting at 7 o'clock at night and going, shit, there's 3 loops within the yard here. Am I going to get lost? Because you only really had 1 hour to see the course, but it was really well marked and there was lots of people, so it was pretty easy to navigate. So that was sort of tick that off. I'm not worried about that. And then it was just trying to get food right, so nutrition. So I had my hydration pretty well sorted, but nutrition was probably the biggest challenge I found on trying to work out when to eat, and what to do between those yards was the biggest challenge I found. But yeah, I found it different. And there was points where I'm going, geez, I'm flying. And then there's other points going, geez, I don't think I'm going to get another yard in.
Yeah. Yeah, it changes so quickly, doesn't it?
Mm.
And as a runner, like, what did you learn from MVP that you took into the next one?
Yeah, not to work the full day before an event. So I got up early. I think it was about 4:30, 5 o'clock to get down to Melbourne and work most of the day. Then turned up, did set up myself, and then Stumpy got there about half an hour before I started. So, yep, try and take the day off beforehand if you can, so you're a bit fresher in bits and pieces. That was a big learning. Embrace the other people around there. So we were next to 2 other cool groups, and they were both doing their first backyard ultra as well, and we became friends on course, but also each of the crews became friends between yards, you could see. But got caught up in the excitement of that. So instead of coming back and having a snooze when it was 1, 2, 3 in the morning, we're actually chatting and hanging out and enjoying each other's company a bit too much. But you can't take yourself too seriously. So that was another learning as well, but a good learning about just that the people out there are bloody cool, but also maybe you should try and shut your eyes and be selfish, I think is what I've been told, not try and hang out with people. It's okay to shut your eyes for 5 minutes between yards and have a rest.
Yeah. MVP is a hard one to do that on the first night though, because there's so many runners still there, and it's like almost like a party on that first night.
Oh, it was, and I was bloody excited, like to meet you, Pato, and also I know Joel was there, and he had two of the best back ultra runners, and Tim and Ben there crewing for him in that. And I was bloody like a kid in a candy store saying, this is bloody cool. I'm getting to see these guys, been following them on like Tim's story to even get to the world champs and stuff. And I'm going, now I get to see them and they're encouraging you along. And I'm going, this is what I found's next for me post team sport. This is where I think I'm going to hang out for a few years.
Yeah, cool. So then you did Herdys after MVP. When did you lock that one in?
I'd mentioned to Sean, who we can talk a bit more about from Ultra Series, that I wouldn't mind coming across, and decided, I say probably 2 weeks beforehand that, yep, that's what, 2 or 3 weeks beforehand, yep, I might as well go and do it. So it wasn't long after doing MVP, but I pulled up physically quite well from MVP. So I know that I was back running with a couple of days. I actually did a marathon the Sunday after MVP. I left home at 8 o'clock. I said to the kids, I said, I turned 43 tomorrow. I'm going to go do a marathon just before I turn 43. So I got that done. And I was surprised with how well physically I pulled up. And I put a bit of training in to lead. I had to go to WA for work. So I thought I could tie that into being over there for work. Again, I didn't take my advice from the first time from MVP. So I went to Brisbane for work first on the Wednesday. So I flew up there Wednesday night, then Wednesday morning, then Thursday morning I flew from Brisbane to Perth. Worked Thursday and a bit of Friday, then rolled up to Herdys, which was just a party. Yeah. Just a big party. 300 odd runners. It was cool.
Yeah. And I think, and you did run a PB, like you did more than what you did at MVP, right?
Yeah. I got to 21 and then thought, well, I did one more than last one. Let's stop again. In hindsight, I was really disappointed after that. Like the next day, I was quite down on myself, going, geez, you probably could have went further, Paul. Why did you stop? But there was so many reasons for me to stop as well. Like I said, I had some significant knee pain for about 10 yards, and I've had knee dramas and been told that I don't have a great right knee. So that was quite, I suppose, alarming to myself, going, am I doing myself damage? And two, I had really crook guts, which has been sort of a theme for me in all three, really. I just had a really crook guts, and it was bloody hot. It was super hot out there. Made MVP feel cool.
Oh, really?
Night, yeah. So I think the lowest it got to was about 23 on overnight, and most of the guys were still running bare chested and that. And I only felt cold on 1 yard, I think, out of the 21 that I did out there. And I did crew myself that one, which was a lesson learnt.
Yeah. And compared to MVP, like MVP is like a really hilly course. So it basically, with MVP, it tells you when to walk and when to run.
Yeah.
Whereas I know with Herdys, it's pretty much all flat. So did it take long to adjust to that and like figure out a run walk strategy?
Great question, Pato. And I found MVP a lot easier to do from a strategy perspective, because I had chatted to a couple of guys beforehand. So like Tim, very generous with his advice, Matty Doob as well, with their advice, going, you'll know when to walk and run. Whereas Herdys, completely different. I did find that challenging, and I tried to do it like time-based, but in hindsight, I was doing my yards too quick. So sometimes I was coming in 42, 43, 44 minutes, and that feels good for a point in time. So it's fun till it's not. And then that caught up with me because I was going a bit too quick. So I tried that sort of time-based one, but I didn't get it right.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, it's pretty hard. Like when I did No Time to Die, I found it. A lot of people were actually commenting that, oh, this course is harder than Hysterical Carnage, and Hysterical Carnage was very. There were some big hills in that, and I reckon that's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Also, with Hysterical Carnage, there were some massive downhills as well, which you could just run easily down.
Yeah.
Makes a
But
big.
there was, it does. It's very different, isn't it? Very different when you see the different type of courses. And you've done how many backyard ultras done you, Pato? You've bloody seen more than most, I would think.
Well, I've done 10 now, so Wild Dog will be number 11.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Wild Dog will tick the hills part for you, mate, which we can talk about a bit more. That's a really good for the walk run strategy it's set for you.
Yeah, awesome. And also with Herdys now, whenever someone finishes on 21, I always wonder if it's because they didn't want to wear a tutu on lap 22. Did that have anything to do with it, or?
It didn't have anything to do with it, but I didn't have one, so I didn't pack one. I didn't want to be going, shit, I need to have one here. But
Yeah.
I tried. I'm happy to share. I tried to self-sabotage and time out on yard 21. So I got to the point going, I've had enough. I'm going to quit. I've got no one here with me. I'm starting to get sad, miss family. I'm on the other side of the country. I want to come home. So I tried to time out, but I still finished with probably, I'm going to say 4 or 5 minutes to go.
Yeah.
And everyone was running around getting their tutus and bits and pieces. And because I had no crew, I said, I'm just going to sit in my chair here and no one will know that I'm not getting back up. And then within 2 minutes, I heard him take off and I've gone, now I've got to go out there and tell Sean I've quit and ring the bell and shit. That wasn't a great choice, Paul, on what I did. And part of it, I even look back on it, each time I sort of made friends with someone out on course from around where we were set up in Herdys, because it started to be able to work out who was who because it had dwindled down a bit. Within a yard or two, they'd finish, and then I'd come back and their gazebo was packed up, and I've gone, geez, I was chatting to that. Where are they going?
Yeah.
And so I did feel very lonely there towards the end, and that was my personal choice on how I processed that, and that'd be why I quit that one. I did have some other dramas, but in the end, that's why I quit. I'd had enough. I was sad. I wanted to come home.
It must have been good feeling that Ultra Series vibe for the first time.
Oh, on the Friday night, I like it, and Dead Cow similar. It was just it's like a party with a run thrown in between.
Yeah.
And yeah, Sean does put in the team over there. That music pumping, the aid stations were awesome. Just the support along course. It was bloody good fun.
Yeah. And you must have been glad because Wild Dogs Ultra Series. So you must have been thinking, it must have been giving you confidence that Wild Dog's going to be unreal.
Yeah, spot on. And that was probably the driving factor that gone, no, I need to go see an Ultra Series event before we host one with them. And I obviously reached out to Sean a bit over 12 months ago to bring Wild Dog to fruition. I heard some good stories about him, seen him good far, but I need to go meet the fella and find out, make sure that we're going to gel and be able to pull something together. And yeah, I'm really glad that I did do it, but I was glad to get home too.
Yeah, fair enough. So Dead Cow Gully was next, and I was lucky enough to be at that one when you ran there and you broke through the 100-mile barrier, and you looked like a man on a mission at that one. You were fired up to break that 24 hours, weren't you?
Yeah, I had some big targets, Pato, that I wanted to hit there, and again, it was only, I think it was 5 or 6 weeks after doing, maybe 6 or 7. It wasn't long after doing Herdys, and I was lucky enough to get a waiting list ticket from Tim, and I took it, and I'm going, am I going to do it or not? And again, it was sort of 3 weeks beforehand. I decided, yep, let's go do it. Let's get amongst it. And because I was pretty disappointed with tapping out and quitting the chair at Herdys. I was fairly focused on what I wanted to do at Dead Cow. I didn't get to where I wanted to, but that's okay because I learned a lot, met some ripping people, and again, just confirm why I enjoy the ultra running community. Like from landing in Brisbane and getting picked up by Brenton who I'd only met once at an event in Tassie and stayed at his house. Then he introduced me to the Moreton Bay Road Runners. I was in their tent to a couple of mates in the Sunshine Coast to come across. It was a good fun weekend away, if that's what your type of fun is.
Yeah, yeah. And it must have been also good because I know that I don't know how long you've been working with Sam Harvey for, but he was running in that race as well. So that must have been fun.
Yeah, it was. So I reached out to Sam just after doing MVP. I coach some people myself too. So I'd always like to go, well, I need to level myself up. And if I'm going to be teaching people how to run and participate in certain types of events and put plans together for them, from time to time, I need to be congruent and also have a coach myself. And I thought, who better to go to young fellow in Sam from New Zealand, and who's done some pretty cool things, not just in backyard ultras. And yeah, so I worked with him for 4 months. I'm not working with him now, but to actually, and that's personal choice, not because of Sam. It was me at the minute. Just with some things going on. It was bloody awesome to meet him, meet his family. I didn't have a crew there for a fair part of it, so his mum became my crew overnight. So I was in his tent, and she's a beautiful human being, and it was just really good to experience what an elite person does and go, geez, I've got a lot to learn, a lot to change, and how I approach these things. If I want to take my speed up to being able to run for 2 and 3 days myself, if I want to be able to do that, there's a lot more I need to do and learn and put in place. So, and the same Sam, and then also learning from Ryan and Jimmy out on course. They were very generous with their advice out there, and chatting to them. It was bloody good. And yeah, Rowan Cassidy as well, and a couple other guys. Again, just confirms why I really like this style of event.
Yeah. And remind me, how many yards did you do at Dead Cow Gully?
28. Yeah. Yep. And yeah, as I said, wanted to do more. Given how my body still is now, though, I'm still quite sore. I've got a couple of niggles. I was done. Yeah. Physically, I was done. First 20 yards, no physical dramas at all. Had other dramas with trying to keep food down again. I think I entertained some people with some power spewing at the start line on a couple of yards in the early morning of Sunday morning. But yeah, both my right shin and the tendon that I've got dramas with flared up at about 21 yards. And I convinced myself if I kept going that my leg was going to snap. Right. And that's what your mind starts to do, that sort of thing, when you're tired and fatigued. And I couldn't even put any weight through me right foot without it feeling like someone was stabbing me in the shin. Right. That's taken 3 weeks to come good, and my tendon still in my left foot, still reminding me that I've done 3 big events in the start of the year off only, call it 4 months prep, after spending most of 2023 out. So some good reminders. Bloody stoked that I did it though, and yeah, happy that 28 was what I did. And want to go back there next year. Hopefully I can get a ticket. But if Buddy Timmy keeps signing up all these big names, I don't know how much room will be asked for us everydayers to go there. But I'd love to go back there because it was, again, a fun event, great setup with the camping, cool course to go do. And I'd like to take the whole family up, take the camper van up, and spend a week up there and have a proper crack and make that one of the key events I do next year.
Yeah, well, it's the perfect race to take your family up and just stay there, because they've got an awesome camping ground set up and everything like that. But that run there, that's a 7-yard PB, so that's a really good performance. Like, what do you put that improvement down to? Was it just your mindset, mate? Was that the main thing?
Yeah, I think mindset and just learning and asking questions. Like, the guys out there in between events, they're just, and I've mentioned their names before, like Tim's been very generous with his advice. So Johan, so I met Johan at Herdys. He's been quite generous with his advice. Same with Joel, Dan Kamak, who I met at a 6-hour event a couple of years ago, yourself, Pato. So just listening and learning and asking questions and not being too proud to just go, shit, I don't know this. Can you share? Yeah. Bits and pieces, and just mindset. Like, my mind was the best it's been, but my body was probably the worst. It was out of the 3 events that went into that. Like, I was clearly fatigued with how I have recovered after this event compared to both MVP and Herdys. But I sit there and go, mentally and just prep wise, I obviously ticked a few more boxes there, and I'm keen to have another one after a few months off with some, I suppose, fresher legs to run into it.
Yeah, I remember you told me you were well and truly in the pain cave, and it must have been probably around the 25-hour mark, I reckon. So in that race, did you open yourself to a whole new level of pain on the Richter scale at Dead Cow Gully?
Probably brought back memories of the pain that I had to finish GCR in 2022. So yeah. So I wouldn't say new, different type, but yeah, GCR. I still remember it took me an hour to do 1K coming down what they call the twins in GCR on the afternoon of day 2 when this big storm was rolling in, and I just had my quad was cooked. I couldn't put any pressure downhill through a quad, so I was doing that. So this was a different type of pain in a different part of the body, but it just reminded me of that. And there's a way through it, but sometimes the body just tells you when it's had enough, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it just does. And when you're tired too, I don't think you make the best decisions as well. So another learning from me was having a crew that knows you and knows your race plan and can whack you across the head and say, Pratty, yep, that hurts. Get back out there though, and having those contingency plans in place. And Tommy was awesome to come up and help me. I hadn't briefed him well enough on a plan on what to do when that sort of shit happened. So that was on me. So that's something from a learning going, have some contingency plans in place because things will go wrong. And it's how quick you can be to change what's going on and get through it. And Tim told me this. He goes, if something hurts for 5 to 6 hours and then stops, it's okay. But if it starts to hurt for longer than that, maybe you're doing more damage than you should. Yeah. And then to make some choices. And that did sit in the back of my head a little.
So with this Dead Cow Gully 28-yard performance, are you kind of thinking you wish you went out for one more, or are you happy with that 28?
No, because I went out on 29 and I jogged and walked, and I've seen your video and of it, so I've seen myself take off, and I know I've said it to you privately, but bloody awesome what you did on going up there and donating your time and to film it. Like, I know I've had multiple people, I walked back into work, say, we'll watch you on TV. My mum was going, oh shit, Paul's still going, it's bloody good, and that. So Pat, what you did to bring that to people that didn't even know the Backyard Ultra world, Pat, hats off to you. It was bloody fantastic to do.
Yeah, I had a great time doing it.
And yeah, I got to lap, I was out and I got about a K, and we're doing a reverse loop at the time. I got about a K in, and it had taken me 15 minutes. And I was just doing the maths in my head and going, you actually can't run. So I was sort of trying to hop. Oh. And so then I sat down and then just had a bit of a cry to myself and going, yeah, but it's not as far as you want. You didn't quit in the chair. You gave it a fair crack. And then I started walking back, and Tim picked me up in the bus and brought me back. And that was it. And sat in the chair and watched him for a couple of hours. And I know you offered to do an interview with me, but I was just done. And I needed to have a sleep, and I was physically in a lot of pain. Like I was still for like the week or two after it. It was not pleasant, but that's okay. Like, not trying to discourage people from these things, because pain does disappear, and we learn when we're in that sort of pain. And it's amazing what you can push yourself to do if you really want to do something.
Yeah, 100%. So these 3 Backyard Ultras you'd done, like, there were some really great performances at all of them. But were there any standout performances that like made your jaw drop and you still think about it? You just think, I can't believe what I saw?
Yeah, for different reasons. So I can't think of the young fella's name, and this is at Herdys. So there was I'm going to say he was 12 or 13, and I do remember his name, but I can't now. And he did 10 yards over there. That for me, out of all 3 events, was that was just so cool. And I was next to them to see what that young fella put himself through to get out there. That was just a highlight to see someone so young out there, and the whole running community that was out there behind him, the crowd and everything. And he got to run with Johan for a bit, and Johan was trying to make him go slower.
Yeah.
Phil Gore, so Australia's best, come over and actually sat and was giving him some advice between laps. And so that from a performance perspective was one of many highlights. I think seeing how well Joel ran the first time, like just to see someone who's so tall just be able to do what he did, and he clearly had a really good plan at MVP and what he did and where he walked and bits and pieces, and it was proof that he had plenty more yards to give of what he did at No Time to Die to qualify for Australia. So that first taste of seeing that, and then just having been with Sam Harvey and what him to actually still do 69 yards when he was clearly not traveling well physically and food wise for those 24 hours, and he just improvised and found a way. So to see that was pretty awesome to just watch and see. So yeah, different reasons, different things, but the kids, for me, that's the number one highlight.
Yeah. I think his name's Dane. Ultra.
It is Dane. Yes, yeah, spot on. Yeah, you would know, Pat. Yeah, and there was and at every event there was kids there doing it. So I know there was a young girl that just got to a marathon at Dead Cow Gully. Seeing that, just and the crowd cheering her on, just sitting there going, that's what these events are about. Like, you don't have to be the fittest, the fastest, or anything like that. We're all there and we're all equal. We all start at the same time, and whether we finish in 40 minutes or 58 minutes, we're all equal because we start again. And people just ticking off PBs is bloody cool.
Yeah, I think that girl, I think that's Emily.
Mm-hmm.
Emily loves to run.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. You are onto it. You are the man of knowledge in the backyard ultra world. And it's, when you're at an event, you meet all these people, and it's bloody hard to remember their names. So I know that I was running with a group of 4 ladies for a bit at Dead Cow Gully, and 2 of them, and I'm pretty sure they were Phoebe and Nikki were their names, and they were 2 of them. And we encouraged Phoebe to get out there, and she got to 24. And we go, "No, come on, Phoebe, you got one more." And she got to 25. And it's just those chats you have out there. She's just a mum with kids, like I'm a dad with kids, and we're just sharing out why we run and how we think it makes us better people out there. And it's just a great community, good fun.
Yeah. So Wild Dog Backyard Ultra is on in 2 weeks, and you are the man behind it. You're the guy with the idea behind Wild Dog Backyard Ultra. So when did organising a Backyard Ultra first enter your mind?
Can't pinpoint an exact date, but as I said earlier, I reckon I was going to say either late 2022 or early 2023. We'd loosely spoken about it a bit before that, but I was chatting to Matty Veenstra, who's famous down here in the Gippsland area for running some pretty cool events. So he's the RD at GCR, also does some cool runs down in East Gippsland as well, and then locally here too. And just bounce it off him, and we're going, could we do it at Rokeby? Because he runs a trail run out at Rokeby, which is about 10 minutes from Warragul. And we're going, probably too hard logistically. And I said, Gislarda Park is a pretty iconic venue out here in Warragul. It's not far from Melbourne. Maybe that's a place to do. It's privately owned. It's a not-for-profit, but it's a private venue as such. And so I went out and chatted to Craig, the GM out there, and he was super open to the idea and very generous for us to be able to hire the venue at a significant discounted cost. To do it at commercial rates, it just wouldn't make sense to do. Mm-hmm. So then reached out to Sean, because I've never ran one of these things. I don't know what to do. And told him we'd secured a venue, told him a couple other things, and then he introduced me to Matty Doob, and then Matty Doob and I started running some courses out there, and that's where it sort of snowballed to it. And I initially envisaged it was going to be sort of the cross-country course that they do for Victorian athletics out there. Mm. But Matty and I went out there, would have been, I'm going to say it, probably this time last year, and it was just too wet off track, so in the grass and going through the forest, and it's bloody beautiful. But it's just going, this isn't conducive for a backyard ultra for people that may want to run long, but also may just want to do a PB. It's not going to be great. You're going to get wet and cold and miserable. And it's already winter in Gippsland. So we decided that, no, let's stick to the well-made tracks out there. And we toured around with some courses, and we're pretty happy with what we've landed on. I'm keen to go run it in the next 2 weeks before we host, just to fine tune it a little bit. It's bloody, I love the course out there. It's a great venue, and yeah, super excited.
Yeah, unreal. And did you, I'm assuming you like used to, or you still do, binge on YouTube all the Backyard Ultra documentaries on there?
Yep. So even not the first take of all this would have been Barclays, which most of us has probably had a taste. So not the Backyard Ultra, but first taste of Laz. Yeah. And so I remember watching that when that first came out. So that was bloody cool. But yeah, I love watching what's coming on. That's why I think what you did, Pato, to bring to people was bloody super. And just they're watching the Suffolk one just recently. It's starting to become a little bit more, I won't say mainstream, because that's not the right word, but it's starting to become a bit more known in the running world. And when people ask you what's a Backyard Ultra, you don't have to spend 10 minutes explaining it to everyone. There's more people start to get what the concept is.
Yeah. And I think there was up to 500 people watching at one time, the Suffolk one. So there's definitely a few people tuning in, especially on the hour. Because when I did the Dead Cow Gully, it shows you how many people are watching. And on the hour, it spikes.
Yeah, I didn't check my phone. So I checked my phone once to ring the family when I was at Dead Cow Gully, but then after it, I checked my phone that night when I got back after having a bit of a snooze, and yeah, people were sending me pictures of what they'd seen on the YouTube and saying, "Oh, yeah, we saw you up there. What are you doing?" That sort of stuff. So it certainly does, and these people, Pat, aren't even runners, so it does reach a wider network than we realise, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's awesome for friends and family who aren't there. It's much better than just watching the live timing website and just looking at the names. It's like, I think that doing live streaming is awesome. And I know that that's how they do it at Ultra Series as well, but it's not like a start to end live stream and stuff, but they will post a lot of stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, we've chatting to Sean and Kate. We'll try and have someone on media the whole time where we can at least film the start and some people finishing. I love the roving interviews you did. The kids had a good laugh at me, Pato, when you interviewed me. So we might try and do a couple of those ourselves. Won't be as polished as you, but I think you can bring that to the people. And we have got people from Wild Dog coming from different parts of the country too. So it will be good to interview those if we can and share with their family and friends, as you say, how they're going.
Yeah. So you did touch on the course a little bit. Can you describe it? Tell us a little bit more about what the course is like.
Yeah, sure, certainly can. So we start in an old rotunda that's got cattle gates on the front of it, and it's got a wood chip flooring and a grandstand in it. So it's a bit different, but it's pretty cool. Yeah. Bo Miles and I were out there just practicing a loop out there because Bo may still be coming. We're not sure yet. And we both looked at each other at the same time and said, can we make that the corral? So that's the corral. So that's cool. Sort of do a loop around all the gazebos, head up a hill. And then I've jotted down some notes here, Pat. I reckon there's 5 hills.
Yep.
There might be a couple other little inclines, but there's 5 hills. 2 of them are decent. They're all walkable. About 140 to 150 metres of elevation. Majority of it's on, I call it farm tracks, so gravel tracks. A little bit on bitumen, so we've got no grass or anything like that at all. So feet should stay relatively dry depending on the weather. And you get to touch all parts of the venue. So we go past the big function centre that they've got. We go past toilets 3 times on course, which I think is really important, especially for our female competitors, that there's a toilet option while we're out on course for them to use. And there's a dam lake that's sort of the centerpiece of where we are, and we get to run around that different direction, like one direction each way. So one way, one clockwise, one anti-clockwise, and it's got willow trees, and that's sort of going to be the finish, coming past from willow trees then into the finish line. And for those that have done Herdys, not to the same extent. So Herdys start to finish has got like a 300-meter gap between start and finish. We've probably got about a 100-meter gap between start and finish, and intend to have everyone's gazebo set up in between there. So there's no real prime position, which I think is that's fair for everyone there. So and that's the course.
Yeah, cool. Now I understand that the runners are in view of the main hub a lot of the time. Is that right?
Yeah, spot on. So I would say at least for half the time you'll be able to see runners. So given the varying times people are going, probably going to be able to see people nearly the whole hour, I would think, at some point. I'm really keen to see what that looks at night. So with the torch lights in the different directions there. And at about the 1.5K, you pass back near the gazebo, so near the start finish line, about 200 meters from it. And then again at about the 4K too. So you're going to have a couple of, I call getting cheered on by your crew closely, but oh shit, it's pretty easy to quit here. I can just walk there as well. So I actually really like that. And I like that at MVP where you went past your start finish line a couple of times, because I think it's really good for those that come to support. They get to see you out on course, not just when you start and finish. So yeah, there it is. I think it's a spectator friendly backyard ultra, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds good. Now, I know there are some like really, really good runners who are going to be there, and I've written a few of them down. But who are some of the runners to watch?
Yeah, there is some big names. We're pretty stoked, Pat. I'm just looking here at my list there that I don't want to miss anyone out there. But first of all, I think we should shout out to our ambassadors. So Sean's gone out there and reached out to some people to get them on, given it's our first event out there. So we've got yourself, Pato, who certainly can up there and mix it with the best that I'm no doubt expecting will be running on the Sunday. We've got Margie Hadley, who Australia's best female in the backyard ultra format there as a race ambassador. We've got John Yoon coming down as well. We've got Maddie Doob from Currumbara, who I know is dual winner of Shepparton. He's got some big plans there, and he's good to have a very local one for him to do. And Maddie's been awesome helping getting the course ready, and when we had the recce day and everything. So really appreciate what you've been doing there, Maddie. And we've got Robbie House, who runs the Last Man Standing up at Shep. I think, is that right? There, he's coming down as well. And then a local girl called Maggie Noy as well. She's actually someone I train who's been doing some pretty cool things in the ultra running world, making her backyard ultra debut. As long as she doesn't think she's going to go play netball on the Saturday, I think she can still be running on the Saturday. She's a pocket rocket, and I've introduced her to Margie, so they're going to catch up and share a gazebo and that together. So I think Margie will be able to pass on some really good knowledge to Maggie. So even just in those ambassadors, I think we've got some people that could run into a day 3 there, Pato. Yeah. And then there's some other big names as well. Like I've written down that there's Barry Keane coming from Wollongong. He's pretty keen to do it. Kevin Muller as well. He's coming along too. We've got Chris Dixon and his mate Brandon, who they're super keen. They've got a house and everything. I think they're coming for a week. So
good.
And a few notable locals, but I'm keen to hear who you think might be up there, Pato.
Yeah, well, I've written a few names. A few of them you've already mentioned, but I'll mention them again. I've got Chris Dixon. I ran with him at he ran at Shepparton when I ran there last year, and him and Brandon ran pretty much the whole time together, and they finished at 32 yards, but it was the easiest 32 yards I've ever seen two runners run. They could have kept going for 100% sure. And you would have seen Chris Dixon. He ran from Sydney to Melbourne a few months ago, and he was running like 4:30 Ks pretty much the whole time. Did you?
Yeah. I think I expect big things from him. And I met those two boys at GSER last year, and they did the same. They ran GSER together the whole 100 miles. So I think they're both going to be there for the long haul. Yeah.
I've got Drew Vincent written down. He was the assist at MVP behind Joel. And I know that that was just a taster of what he can do, because like it was more of he went in there with the goal to run 24 yards. I think he ended up doing 26, and then so he just finished, but he could have kept on going for sure.
Yeah, okay, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
I do remember seeing him there, so that's cool that he's coming.
I think he's friends with Chris Dixon as well, so I think he's going to know a few people there and run as a team. I wouldn't be surprised to see them running together anyway. Barry Keane, last year's winner of Reds, he's fired up to reach his limit because he ran, I think it was Sydney's backyard ultra, but he was sick. So to reach, do what he can do. So he wants to. He's coming down because he wants to see how far he can go.
Yeah, he's got a whole crew coming down. He's reached out, Pato, and he said 50 plus is on his radar. So, and from what you know about him and what he shared, I think that's well and truly achievable.
Yeah. Matt Doob, PB of 40 when he was the assisted MVP. That was back in 2022, but since then he's won Shepparton twice, like you mentioned. And this is the perfect opportunity for him to run a big PB because he's hungry to beat that 40. That's for sure.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah, and when he won at Shepparton last time, he was absolutely dominant. It was pretty amazing to watch how well he ran, actually.
Yeah, there's a couple of local young fellas, Pato, that are doing Wild Dog that were up at Shep, and I've seen them at Park Run, and one of them was out at the Recce Run, and they were specifically talking about how easy Matt made it look out there. So, yeah, I know Matt has got plenty more to give out there. And I think there's a few local lads too that I expect will go fairly well. So I know there's a couple there. He's related to me, Daniel Pratt, who's got the buy from footy. So I reckon he's quite a good runner. He runs the Laura Marathon down here, so he's a race director of one of our main local events. So he's going to be out there. Sally Theobald, she's actually doing Cairns Ironman the week before, so she thinks he's just coming for a bit of fun. But I know Sal, and she's done some epic runs before, so I think she could go quite well and surprise herself. And then there's a couple other triathletes that I think they'll like the format, and they're new to the backyard ultra world, but I would expect they're still running around sometime Saturday Arvo. So we got some pretty cool people coming along.
Yeah. I've also got down Liv Compton, Kirsty Ferguson, and Tammy Wickham. They're coming down from Queensland.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Liv ran 35 at the Masters, Kirsty 32. And Tammy runs 24 nearly every backyard ultra she does. But I know that she's ready to step up into the 30s and beyond. So they'll be fun to watch. They'll be fun to run with because they're cool girls.
Yeah. Based on that, Pat, I would think we're going to have well over 20 still going after 24 hours. Like those names, that's pretty awesome, and a great mix of old and young, and male and female. So I think it's going to be, as I said, it'll be a cool spectator event to see yourself and all these others get out there. And also, I know there's some people coming out there just to run 3 and 5 yards to do some PBs, which is exciting as well.
Yeah, 100%. How many runners are signed up?
Checked in with Sean this morning, 109 at this stage. So we've got 109 runners. I looked through the list though, and I know there's 4 people that have told me they're doing it that haven't yet signed up. So I'd expect we might top out of about 120, given we've only got a couple of weeks to go, which Sean tells me bloody awesome for the first time for an event. Like he said, even in his Ultra Series runs, like No Time to Die, first year was less than that. So in my mind, I didn't want any more than 100. I thought 100 was going to be a cool number. I would have been happy with 60. So they have 109 signed up so far. That's awesome. It's bloody really grateful for everyone that's got behind it and been promoting and coming along.
Yeah, and you'll obviously be there from beginning to end. Do you reckon you'll stay awake the whole time, or are you planning on working in shifts?
Apparently, we're working in shifts. I want to see it all, but whether I'll see it all is another thing. Like Sean might send me to bed to have a sleep. So we've got myself, Sean, Kate, and one other. So we'll have 4 RDs there. I certainly going to try and stay awake as long as I can out there. We'll be out there from Thursday, Arvo. So just so people know, you can get there at 4 o'clock on the Thursday and check in, set up tent if you're camping. So there is the option to camp there over the weekend. But we've got to shut the gates at 7 on the Thursday night just because it's a private property. And then we're opening the gates again on the Friday morning from 6 a.m. so people can come and set up then as well and do a race briefing probably 45 minutes beforehand, those sorts of things, get ready. And as we were saying, Pato, hopefully the weather's like the quite mild winter that we're experiencing today, perfect running conditions. About 10 degrees, no wind, a little bit of cloud cover.
It does look perfect, yeah.
Chance for some people to get on the at-large list, maybe.
Yeah. This might sound like a silly question. You mentioned the gates opening and shutting on the Thursday, but they'll be open for during the whole race. They're not going to.
Yes. Yeah, correct. So just from a security perspective, we just shut at 7 at night on the Thursday night, but once we open at 6 a.m. on the Friday, they'll be open till we finish. So people more than welcome to come and go after finishing those sorts of things. So it'll just be that window. If someone really needs to get in after 7, I'll be able to go open it for them, but we're just going to shut it. We just won't have anyone up there at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
Not a silly question. It's a good question because we want people to come and go, Pato. It's only 10 minutes to Warragul. It's a nice country town, so there's plenty of food and bits and pieces for people to come in and get food if they don't have enough food themselves, like big supermarkets. We've got Franklin and the Bean out there on the Friday, but we haven't got anyone sort of catering on the Saturday out there at this stage. So it is good that it's only a 10-minute drive into town for people to get things if they run out of supplies.
Yeah, perfect. Yep. Yeah, I'm staying at one of the hotels in Warragul on the Thursday night. So I'll be in there and set up on the Thursday and then stay in Warragul, I think.
Yeah, cool. No, and we'll be able to let you out if you're still out there after 7. We just don't want it free for all, given it's a big venue. We don't want hoons coming in there and wrecking up the stuff we're putting together. Not that I think that will happen. We're just got to be mindful of the venue that we're getting to use.
Yeah, sure. So Paul, you might already know that I've got big goals with Backyard Ultras. Like I'd love to make the Australian Sat Champs team. Do you have any goals, or long-term goals as far as Backyard Ultra goes?
Yeah, I do, and it's a good question, and I do, because I touched on it, and I mentioned it to you up at Dead Cow Gully, and I love that you've got those aspirations to join the Australian team, and I'm not going to lie, I'd love to as well. I sit there and go, my days of playing footy have passed me by. Probably didn't make some great choices along those in my 20s and bits and pieces and that as well. So to sit there back and go, I've learned a lot from a life perspective. I love the culture of the ultra running world and then honing in the Backyard Ultra. And I miss the team sport part of footy. I really do. So I'd love to make a team in this format. So yeah, I do have those aspirations. Whether that will happen or not, I don't know, but I'm going to give it a fair crack over the next couple of years to get my name on that at-large list and get to hang out with some pretty cool people. Like as I've mentioned a few of their names before, they're all very generous with their time and just good humans and have good humans around them in the crew and that. So to be part of a team like that would be bloody awesome.
Yeah, 100%. So what Backyard Ultras are on your radar?
I've got Herdys penciled in. However, that's probably not going to happen because we're heading away for 3 months on a family holiday that I'm super excited for, and we are heading to WA. But we're about 14, based on our sort of rough schedule, we're about 10 to 12 hours away from where Herdys is at that time. But it could be a last minute decision to go down there. So that I would like to do that, but I don't know if that will happen. I want to go do all the 3 that I did this year, Pato, again next year, and I want to go to MVP because I really like that course. I like that course. I like the hills part of it. I like the change in weather. It's a close local one for me. I want to go back there and be the last one standing. That's how I'd love to start 2025.
Yeah, awesome. Yep, sounds good. Yeah, I love MVP as well. I'll definitely be there. Definitely be there too. Any other races, like any point to points?
They're going to do Surf Coast Century. So
Yep.
I have signed up for Surf Coast Century in the back end of September there. I've done the 50 there before. That was my first ever ultra event, was the 50K that I did there back in 2020. So I want to go back and do the 100 there. And depending on how I go, I wouldn't mind doing the 50 miles up at GSCR that Matty Veenstra and Megan run up there. They run a great event, and we go support them. I've done their events a couple of times and volleyed up there, and so that's a beautiful part of the country up there in the high country of Victoria. So they're probably two. We'll do a fundraiser again for Mindful Kilometres locally, which is the first time I ever did 100Ks back in 2020. We did that to raise awareness and funds for mental health charity called Mindful Oz here. So we do an annual event.
Is that the one where you run around an oval?
Yeah. So it's run around the AST track, our local AST track. So that was both myself and a young fella both lost friends through suicide in COVID back in 2020, and we wanted to do something during lockdown to get people out and moving. So we put on an event that was just meant to be me and him run 100Ks, and then the whole community got behind it when we first did it in 2020. And since then, we took a year off in 21, but we've done it in 22 and 23 and turned it into just a community event that goes for 8 hours now, where you can come walk or run in individually in teams. There's no timing or anything like that, just to raise funds and awareness and have good conversations for people and get people out being active. So we'll do that again. And then I've got a couple of personal challenges I want to do as part of my training. So I want to do a 24-hour simulation. I want to run a point-to-point to Warburton, and there's a beach run I wouldn't mind doing down in East Gippsland. That'd be pretty cool too. So, I think it's good to do your own events and do it out there and just test yourself in the comfort of your own company to see what you want to do instead of having people around there.
Yeah, unreal. That sounds awesome. And Paul, you might know that I like asking my guests for their 3 backyard ultra tips at the end of each episode. So what are yours?
I knew you'd ask this, Pato, and I feel that I'm going to give some tips, but given I've only ever ran 28 yards and bits and pieces, I sit there and go, I'm going to give some tips based on what I've seen the elite do and what I've learned and what I'll do differently next time. I sit there and go, I've learned a lot. I've been very fortunate to have some really good people share their knowledge with me. Number one, and I've been told it a few times, have a crew.
Yeah.
And have a crew that knows what's going on, have a plan, and be prepared for that plan to change. So have that in place and have a catch up with your crew properly and go through what things you may need and what might come up. Number two, again, it's a basic one, but it's let me down all 3 times. Nutrition. Just work out what works well for you food-wise and make sure you got some variety and get calories in every yard, whether that's in the chair or out on loop. Number 3, and I use the advice I give the guys I train for a marathon for. So I always say you got to run slow to go fast when you're doing a marathon training. So a slight twist on that is to go slow to go far.
Yeah.
So I've gone too quick all the time. Not every yap, but all the time. At every event, I've gone too quick. Even at MVP, and this was just stupid. I did a 41 or 42 minute yard at 16. I think it was a 16th yard because I wanted to be first across the line once.
Yeah.
Not a good decision in hindsight, but it was cool to do. So, and just chatting to people and seeing you don't need to do 45-minute yards. Like if we look at the world record holder and what he did at Biggs, you can do in the mid to high 50s if you really structure it out well. So try and go slow. Yeah. Conserve energy. And then that I think will happen with your nutrition and recovery and fatigue. And then And then a bonus one, Pato, is, and I really embraced this at Dead Cow Gully, was have fun. Don't take yourself too seriously. Get out there, take the piss, have a laugh, meet people. And I really did. I was carrying on like a kid out there, and a lot of other people embrace that, and also be mindful and respect others out there that want to put the earphones on and be in their own space. But just be yourself, enjoy yourself out there.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Yeah, look, I can't wait for Wild Dog. I am fired up, and it's going to be unreal. It's going to come along fast as well.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, Pato. I really am. I've got a couple of people I'd love to see will still be running on the Sunday. So, and I've got some favourites. You're being really generous with your time and even the chance to chat here. And Maddie, though, if I'm being there, I'd love to see you two guys out there, but I'd love to see the other names you mentioned as well get together and a whole sort of team within a team get out there. And we've got a dozen or so still running on Sunday.
Yeah, awesome. So if they're still going at on Sunday, 48 hours will be 9 a.m. Sunday morning. They'll be doing their 48th yard.
Yeah, spot on.
I reckon that we'll see it. I mean, we've got the runners to do it, so I'll be surprised.
Yeah. And to the others that aren't aspiring to do that fast, they're still just set your own targets, come out there, get your friends and family along and do it. And just a slight challenge for those that want to be able to say they've run for 2 days. We're starting at 10 o'clock. If you run till 1 a.m. on Saturday morning, that'll be 15 hours. So that'll be 100 Ks. So, and you'll be able to tell people you ran for 2 days because you'll be across 2 days. But as I said, my young fella who's 10, Pato's coming to do it, and one of his friends. So there'll be people out there only doing 2 or 3 yards, which is still perfectly fine. It's a very comfortable environment to do a PB. And I've had people ask me and go, "Oh, will I look out of place out there?" And I've gone, "No, not at all." I said, some of the best runners will be the last finished.
Yeah, well,
so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's one of the things. Sometimes I feel like I talk too much about high numbers and things like that. And sometimes I think that talking about high numbers too much can put some people off wanting to give it a go, because sometimes people who don't run that much, they might run like 5Ks every second days or just 5Ks every once a week or something. They might get I'm worried that they might get intimidated by listening to all this talk about high numbers, but they're so welcome at these types of races, and they're really I think that they're a type of ultra that anyone can enjoy. You don't have to aim, even if it's 3 or 4, even if it's 1 yard, it doesn't matter. Like, you're going to have a good time, and you're going to share the course with some of the best runners in Australia.
Spot on, Pato. And I'll share an example of how that plays out. So Melbourne Marathon, for example, after 5, if you do more than 5 hours, they start to shut the course down on you. And we know some people can't do a marathon in a 5-hour time frame. I haven't been able the ability to train. They've got physical ailments that don't allow them to do that, but they want to do it. Melbourne Marathon doesn't allow you to be able to do that in an environment that's comfortable, because you end up having to run with the general public through bloody pass and that. Backyard ultras do, and you've got a longer time frame to do it. You've got someone that can be there family-wise at every hour to help you out. If you want to run a marathon, I think the Backyard Ultra is the perfect place to do one.
Yeah,
out there, and that's what I really like about the event. And as I said, I quit in Herdys because I wanted to come home, but it was also the crowd had started to dwindle off. The first 10 or 12 hours when the crowd's pumping, you don't even think about that at all. It's just so much fun.
Yeah.
And it's because of all those people from all walks of life that come out there. They make the event.
Yeah, 100. Do you reckon there'll be men? Do you reckon, I mean, it's a private property. Do you reckon that many people just come like from Warragul to watch, or?
We hope so, but I think they'll come and go. Like, looking at the list, and I did a bit of a survey out there. There's a fair few from Gippsland doing it, so there's enough local names that I'm encouraging them to bring their families and friends out. And it is hard when you've got sport. People have sport Friday nights and sport Saturdays, but I'm hoping people come and go because we're close to both Warragul and Drew. And so, yeah, I'd hope so, Pato. The big asterisk on that is what will happen in winter in the
Yeah.
weather. So I probably don't expect many spectators out there if we have a change of weather, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's a full moon and it's the shortest day of the year, and they apparently both fared well for nice, mild, calm evenings. So it should be good to go see, and we'll have plenty of warmth out there with fires and bits and pieces too.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, look, Paul, I can't wait. It's going to be unreal. And yeah, and thanks for coming along on the podcast to share your story.
Thanks, Pato. Thanks for having me along. Love sharing, love chatting to you, and look forward to watching you and many others have some fun at Wild Dog in a couple of weeks, and then future events over the next few years. And yeah. Thank you, Pato, and thank you everyone that's shared so far on my journey. I love the Backyard Ultra community.
Yeah, unreal. All right, sounds good, Paul. Well, I'll speak to you leading into the event, and I'll see you on the Thursday.
Look forward to it, Pato.
Okay. See
Take
you.
care.
If you've enjoyed this podcast, it would be awesome if you could share, comment, like, subscribe, all of that. If you've got any feedback, shoot me a message. Hope you have a great day. See ya.